USC heads to Seattle to face fourth-ranked Washington.
Far left side of the field for the end zone. Jump ball, Darius Rogers. Touchdown, USC.
Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Don Le Batard.
There are some legitimately meaty race stories out there.
Stugotz.
Great.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, going to join us. Our update, Browns and Ravens, Thursday Night Football tonight, 8:25 kickoff from Baltimore, according to ESPN's John Clayton. NFL personnel executives feel that Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan is the clear NFL MVP in the first half of the season. They are wrong. And finally, Marvel's Kevin Feige has confirmed to the Toronto Sun that the long-standing rumors of Michael Keaton playing the villain Vulture in the upcoming Spider-Man Homecoming film are true. The movie is due out in July 2017. This SportsCenter is brought to you by JCPenney. Beat the rush at JCPenney and get amazing Black Friday deals early when you use your 20% off with your JCPenney credit card on select items throughout the store. That's getting your pennies worth, JCPenney. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Many of you are agitated by what I said last segment. Again, Ric Flair going to join us in a half hour, and you're interpreting it as arrogance. Tweeter writes in, your arrogance is not becoming. Listeners are your paycheck. A, that's not true. Disney is my paycheck. But B, I don't mean that as an insult to listeners, and I don't mean it as arrogance when I say I don't care what you think. What I mean by that is you are no one listener. You are no one voice. All of this is subjective. And so if I'm governed trying to please all of you, I'm going to please none of you. And so I won't be governed by that. That's all I'm saying when I say I don't care what the listeners think, because you don't think any one thing. And so there are plenty of people who like this show because it goes into race topics, and there are plenty who don't because it goes into race topics. And hopefully the overall, we have enough here for you with Stugotz as the everyman, with the refugees, the frightened shipping container filled, or the shipping container filled with frightened refugees, that you like some piece of it. But and I'm fine if you think I'm the worst part of the show. But I can't do this in a way that placates all of you or even cares what one of you thinks. Because no, you don't think the same. You all think differently about this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to read this article. Stan Van Gundy is very bothered. And Stan Van Gundy, I would say, is hurting. And he feels, if you're just joining us, he had very strong comments. And he feels guilty. And he feels like a coward, and he feels like he spoke up too little, too late. And he said many things about Donald Trump, but he's lost faith in this country. And he said called him blatantly and zealously racist and misogynistic. And so here is the article that he sent some of his friends last night. I will never underestimate white people's need to preserve whiteness again, by Damon Young. Again, you can reject this. This is one black person's perspective. He does not speak for all black people, but I'm guessing he speaks for a decent amount of them. There is an understandable inclination to believe that by voting for and ultimately electing Donald Trump, white people, particularly working class white people, voted against their own self-interest. After all, this is a man who became a billionaire by swindling and defrauding and sometimes just outright not paying people exactly like them. And there's no real evidence that a Trump presidency will be much different for them than the Trump industry has been. This is not particularly untrue, but it misses the point, as I did. And in this context, it would be the entire election season, and today's reaction reminds me of a story about Dorothy Dandridge. While visiting a hotel in Las Vegas in the 50s, the iconic entertainer dared dip her toe into the all-white swimming pool, an act which made the hotel management so upset, so disgusted by Dandridge's toe contaminating the water, that they subsequently drained the entire thing. Now, this story has never been confirmed to be true, but America's racially antagonistic foundation, history, present, zeitgeist, and legacy makes it believable because there are many, many, many other stories, hundreds of thousands of them, of white people being so appalled and repelled by the presence of blackness that they willingly and enthusiastically did something that would seem to go against their self-interest. And it's with this context that the idea of a pool being drained, a painstakingly long and messy and arduous and expensive process, just because a black person roundly considered one of the world's most beautiful women got her toenail wet, becomes a plausible story. Of course that happened, because it happens all the time. In this election, white people did not vote against their self-interest. They may have voted against a self-interest, a few actually, but not their most important one, the preservation of white supremacy. Retaining the value of a whiteness they believed to be increasingly devalued superseded everything else, including their own livelihoods, their own physical and financial well-beings, their own Christianity, their own agency, their own money, their own educations, their own futures, their own children's futures, their own country's legacy, their own country's status with the rest of their world, their own environment, their own food, air, and water, their own rights, and their own lives. And please note that I am not including any qualifiers for working-class whites or whites from Rust Belt cities or white men or white people who didn't graduate from college or rural whites or Midwestern whites or Southern whites. This is on all white people who are complicit even if they didn't vote for Trump, because they obviously haven't done enough to repudiate the mindsets existing in their families and amongst their friends, possessed by their coworkers and neighbors, shared during private holiday gatherings and public city town halls, who have shown us that nothing existing on earth or heaven or hell matters more to them than being white and whichever privileges, real or fabricated, concrete or spiritual, existing as white in America provides. I admit I underestimated them. Of course, I knew of the presence of white supremacy and the appeal of perpetuating it. You cannot exist as a black person in America without at least a rudimentary and peripheral understanding of it. What I didn't realize, however, was exactly how powerful this want to retain whiteness is. I assumed wrongly that enough of them would value their own lives, their own humanity, more than the need for white supremacy to be preserved. But I failed to realize how intertwined these things are for them. There apparently is no point in even existing without existing as white. Whiteness is past an identity or status. It is their oxygen, their plasma, their connective tissue. I'm trying very hard to find silver linings today, some source of comfort and consolation, but I cannot. Maybe I will eventually. But right now, the idea that white people are so possessed with clutching and cultivating and elevating white supremacy that they will endanger and outright sacrifice their own bleeping lives to do so is all I can think about. And if they feel that way about their own lives, how do you think they feel about mine? Now, many of you are just rejecting this on its face. Like, get out of here, and you will send me much data that would suggest that race did not play a factor in this election. But all I'm telling you is that this person feels this way, and he did not come upon that without reason. He did not come upon that irrationally, and he does not stand on an island heartbroken alone. There are a whole lot of people surrounding him who think exactly like that. And it hurts me, legitimately hurts me, that you want to fight him. You know, like that what's happening in this country is that he says that, and what you want to do is fight and deny his reasons for feeling that way. Like, it's just heartbreaking that you reject the way that he feels on that when he's the one who's experienced this country in a way that we have not.
And never will.
And never will.
Yeah.
And never will. And so that's how Tuesday and Wednesday, broke him. And he ain't naive. This is just one person. Again, man, I can just imagine. I don't even want to read the text because I can just imagine, because I've been doing a version of this show for 10 years, and anytime I say anything like that, it becomes a fight. But what I just would ask you is, instead of fighting that person, and I understand why it is that you get defensive about that. That feels like an attack, right? That feels like when these things happen, but he's felt attacked his entire life, man. And this felt like a validation of that. And so what you have here happening with Stan Van Gundy is Stan Van Gundy feels enormous guilt about that. Stan Van Gundy lives in a blacker world than most of you. His workplace, he has received more of the black perspective than most of you because of everything that he's done in his life that puts him in places around black sensibilities. And he reads that, and what he feels is guilt and cowardice. He feels white guilt.
But he's also, I mean, when he says that, Stan, and I said earlier he probably should have said something before the election, not after the election, but I'm not certain that Stan, I understand how he's feeling, and I understand the guilt, and I get all of it, but I'm not certain what effect Stan's words would have had. Because I think the guilt he's feeling is I should have done more, I could have done more, I should have done it sooner. I don't think it changes the results.
Well, it's not about changing the result. It's that the result happened, and now we all have to live with that result. And he didn't speak up before he had the result, and so then it just becomes telltale heart, your conscience. It just becomes your conscience. Like, he feels, as strongly worded as all of his words were, and Stan Van Gundy came stronger than anybody, came after this subject harder than anybody in sports. He still feels guilty, still feels like a coward, it still feels like he wasn't a leader. So, I mean, do with that what you will.
Awkward transition. Time for some ads.
Fats and Info is still shredding for the wedding. How is that going, Fats and Info? Have you? I saw you doing kettlebells. I saw a disturbing video of you doing kettlebells the other day that Izzy Gutierrez sent me.
Yeah, that was like a few weeks ago. I've been struggling the last couple weeks, but we're getting back at it.
All right. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Down like 10, but I want to do a couple more.
All right. Very good. Fats and Info is still shredding for the wedding, but once he and his fiancée say I do, you better believe the honeymoon is going right through the Wendy's drive-thru. In fact, instead,
stay there for a week.
That's right. In lieu of catering for the reception, I'll go to the wedding if you guys just serve Wendy's. Tell them more, Stugotz.
Cocktail hour, that's what you want?
Yes.
Spicy chicken
Yes.
sandwich.
Yes.
Or you can try the Swiss Junior Bacon Cheeseburger as an option in Wendy's 4 for $4 combo for a limited time. Now is the perfect time to go. Great value. This fresh, never frozen beef is topped with applewood smoked bacon, a slice of Swiss, hand-leaf lettuce, a fresh tomato, and a coat of ranch. It's an option that goes great with a 4-piece nugget, small fry, and a drink, all for just $4. So head to Wendy's today and try the Swiss Junior Bacon Cheeseburger at participating Wendy's for a limited time.
Stay tuned. More Dan and Stugotz on ESPN Radio. Dan Le Batard.
How about this one here via text? This isn't some Mickey Mouse league. This is the National Football League, boy. There are no do-overs.
Stugotz.
This is the National Football League, boy.
There are no
That was
do-overs.
typed with chaw in his lower lip.
Oh, no doubt. Yes.
There are no do-overs. We just apologize. We're just wrong, and we move on. Boy.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show on demand in the ESPN app, plus our Miami Only Hour that airs before the show, and now you can subscribe to our Best of Podcasts. It's all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
The shipping container looks uproariously funny. I mean, it looks like you're multiplying back there.
The packed house.
You can check the show out on ESPN. What's happening on the text machine is amazing. So many people telling Stan to go coach the Raptors.
I mean, everyone.
I mean, what is that text that you were reading me during the break? And honestly, I swear to you, I do not like upsetting you guys. I don't mind if you get upset. It doesn't bother me very much, but I'm not looking to actively bother you and agitate you. But you are agitated for a number of different reasons. Some guy there on the text machine is calling me Captain Semantics.
Yeah, I'm trying to find him, man. There's so many texts coming in just crushing Stan Van Gundy and crushing
me,
you and crushing that article.
Right. But the guy essentially wrote, hey, Captain Semantics, stop trying to parse whether we pay your salary or Disney pays your salary. Without us, Disney would kick you to the curb.
Nailed it. Pretty good.
Yeah, it'd be better if, I asked you to save it and you just saved it and then read it, but I did pretty good remembering it.
Yep. Sorry about that. I don't recall you asking me to save it. My apologies.
Yeah, you were busy talking about, what was it, peanut butter?
Yeah, we were talking about Jif bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new Jif bars. Thick layers of peanut butter on all sides and just the slightest hint of granola right in the middle. Delicious, man. So good. Had 2 on the way in this morning.
You are infuriating. Infuriating. Your inability to do your job because of things like that makes me rabid with fury. Because that's exactly how that happened. I did ask you to do it. You said you were going to do it, but you got distracted by delicious peanut butter. Which makes you not unlike a dog. You know what I mean? It makes you not unlike an animal, and I feel like I could train an animal better than that. Because if I tell an animal, no, I told you this animal would keep the peanut butter on its nose until I told it to lick its nose. You lick the peanut butter and forget to save the text.
So right after you told them to save it, that's when we heard in the talkback, Bill, do you like peanut butter?
That's exactly that. I'm telling you.
Well, here's the unfortunate part of all this, and I'm not going to get any benefit of the doubt from anyone in this room, and I don't deserve it. I have earned this over a lifetime of lies, but I do not recall Dan asking me to save it. I'm
telling you why. Because you were distracted by peanut butter. I'm telling you why. I assure you on all that is holy in my life that I asked you to do it, and furthermore, you confirmed that you had.
Oh, that's impossible.
No, really? Really?
Wait, you saying that it's impossible?
Really? Let's show some people.
Chicken time.
I mean,
entirely possible. Liar. And I'm pretty sure you remembered. Pretty sure.
Get the Steve Martin prop comic. Chicken, get out of here. Kentucky Fried Chickens, get out of here. Get back in your cage. Let's show people evidence that Stugotz can absolutely fake like he's listening, confirm that he's listening with a series of sounds. Get back in there. With a series of sounds that make it pretend like he's listening, and then it's soon thereafter will be revealed that he wasn't listening at all, that it was all camouflage, that it was all the dance of counterfeit Stugotz that he does.
Steve Martin was a prop comic.
He was?
Yeah, he came out with an arrow through his head.
Mm-hmm.
And people found that funny.
Steve Martin, also.
That's what you just said.
Oh, he said that.
Liar! Again!
Come back out! Come back out and play!
Voice. I will be heard!
No, I'm not hearing. Wait a minute. Why am I not hearing from the band members back there and the Jimmy V people? All of you, get in there, Kentucky Fried Chicken!
Liar!
Who's more likable? At Batard Show on Twitter. 80% of the audience says me.
Unbelievable, man. It is infuriating.
It's Jif bars, man. Have you had one?
No.
I'm going to bring you one tomorrow. As an apology. That's what I do when I apologize.
You're not going to bring
me anything. You're going to forget. He didn't even eat one this morning. He claimed to have eaten 2, right? He didn't eat it. Yeah, I mean,
that's not fair.
Know what he ate them. I think you just read about him. Yeah.
There's not a single truth that comes out of your mouth, man. It's unbelievable.
You don't believe I ate one this morning?
I don't believe anything you say, man. You could look at me and say, Dan, you've been a man all your life. And I'd say, I don't agree with that. Like, you might be wrong. Like, there will be things that I believe that if you then in turn say that they are so, I will start to not believe them. What was I talking about?
Stay tuned. More Dan and Stugotz on ESPN Radio. Dan Le Batard.
Woo!
Stugotz. Pooh! This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Ric Flair, Nature Boy, makes his return in just a second here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Thursday Night Football tonight. Ravens and Browns, 8:25 kickoff from Baltimore. According to ESPN's John Clayton, NFL personnel executives feel that Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan is the clear NFL MVP in the first half of the season. And finally, after last year's drama surrounding their controversial plain red holiday cups, Starbucks unveiled several different red cups that were designed by 13 women that are much more festive. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Ric Flair did not lose to Colin Cowherd last week. Didn't make up ground either. He was 3-3. Colin Cowherd was 2-2-1. And right now on the season, we're just a couple of games back on Colin Cowherd with our celebrities. So Ric Flair will be our celebrity prognosticator again today. Mike Ryan, you mentioned, I think, like 7 or 8 of Ric Flair's signature moves earlier in the show. Go ahead and run through them real quick.
All right, we definitely got the figure 4 leg lock. We got the woo chops. Okay, we got the throw him into the turnbuckle. He flips over. He runs across the apron for God knows what reason, gets clotheslined on the way down. We also have him going up to the top rope to land a move that he's never landed outside of maybe his final match, where he climbs up to the top rope to do God knows what again and gets suplexed down.
Right.
And we got the brass knucks in the trunks. And then we also got the eye poke when the referee's trying to separate them. Then we also have the drop down to the knees. The referee's also not looking at this point, right? Groin shot from the the inside part of the elbow. And also, sometimes the referee is not looking, and he puts his feet up on the second rope for leverage during a pin. I believe he did that against Conan at a Bash at the Beach.
Well, you forgot a couple.
Wow.
You forgot the brass knuckles, and you forgot when he...
brass knuckles, and don't forget my favorite, my personal favorite, gets punched in the face a couple of times. He's stunned, but he's shaking it off, right? He's walking. You think he's going to be fine.
He's strutting.
Yeah, yeah. Strutting sometimes 15 yards, falls down on his face. And one time he did it from the ring. He went to the outside, walked across the apron, went down the stairs, walked up the ramp, and then fell down on his face.
That's my favorite. So, Rick, as you hear all of those things recited, and thank you as always for making time for us, which one of those is your favorite?
You know, Dan, I'm the first to admit, as I got older and my skills diminished, I found a way to entertain people. So I think they're probably the most entertaining thing in terms of what the fans like with the when I would do it. We used to call it the Gordon, named it after Gordon Soley, the famous announcer that would have a couple cocktails. So
wait a minute. Gordon Soley was a raging alcoholic. So the following.
No, I didn't say that.
No, you didn't say it. I said it. No, you didn't. The late Gordon Soley, yes, he drank a lot. So do you have a story of Gordon Soley actually falling on his face?
Never, no. But it was funny because he stumbled a couple times.
Okay. I loved that. That was my favorite. Ric Flair strutting. What is the furthest you ever went before falling down on your face? Was it
what Mike just mentioned when I walked up the ramp?
What was the total amount of distance that you imagined that you walked there before the pain set in? You fought it off with a swagger. What was the total distance that you walked before you fell on your face?
Probably 60 feet.
All right, I've got a very.
If the fans are really digging it, I would do it twice.
Right? Yeah. No, we did love it. Ric Flair with us on ESPN Radio. I've got a very important question, hard-hitting, journalistic. I don't think you've probably ever been asked this before. Why did you keep climbing to the top rope? Like, I mean, what were you going to do up there? Because it seems like the only thing, the only thing that ever happened is you got thrown down when you were on the top rope. You know what I mean? What were you doing up there?
Vince McMahon asked me the same question. The fans just liked it. It was part of my
No.
gig, so.
But what was your plan?
What was the point of doing it?
You're going up there with what? Was the plan
Like
to
a
just
450 splash, like twirling in the air.
In my youth, I used to do something where I'd hit a couple of guys, but as I aged and not gracefully, I just kept it in the repertoire. It's a pretty good bump. It jars you pretty good, and people like it. And nobody else did it. So what the heck?
Rick, did you actually vote for yourself for president?
Of course. I'm exhausted from that campaign, by the way.
From that campaign or your campaign?
My campaign.
Your campaign for president. How many votes did you get? Did you get one or did you get more than one? Harambe. Harambe
got over 500,000. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
No.
Aren't you guys looking out there at the polls?
Well, sportsbettingexperts.com actually put up odds for the 2020 presidential election, and you're a long shot, but you are on the list, Ric Flair. Yes.
Yes. I might be too old by then.
All right. Did he actually vote for himself? Are you fooling with us? Or
He sent out a picture.
Yeah, he sent out a picture. Yeah.
Rick.
And I did not vote for myself. I don't want anybody at ESPN to think that I'm that crazy, but.
All right. That's too bad.
I don't even think I was on the ballot.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do our celebrity prognosticator with Ric Flair.
And now it is time for Celebrity Prognosticator. Let's win some money.
He gave us a bonus pick last week, so he picked 6 games. Browns at Ravens. Ravens, this game's tonight. Ravens are -8. Who do you got?
Ravens.
Rams at Jets. Jets are -2. Who you got?
Rams.
Dolphins at Chargers. Chargers -3.5. Who you got?
Wow, I'm taking the Dolphins.
Packers at Titans. Titans +2.5. Who you got?
Packers.
Cowboys at Steelers. Steelers -2.5. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Okay, you feeling pretty confident? You feeling pretty good about yourself?
Yeah, I'm telling you, this you watch. You'll have me back next week. I like doing this, so
All right, we like having you do it.
I'm not letting you get rid of me.
Very good. Where are you now? Are you in a restaurant? You're in a public place? Can you agree?
No. I'm watching you on TV. I'm at my fiance's home.
Okay. Are you good with the parents? Are you good? Like, can we get some Ric Flair on your way out the door, or some in character Ric Flair? More Ric Flair?
Of course, yeah. What about the Patriots in Seattle? That's the big one.
Okay, you want go ahead.
Pick,
all right.
pick.
I don't know what the spread is on that. What is
it's 7.5. Patriots are -7.5 at home against Seattle.
Are my picks with the points?
Yes, go ahead and pick it with the points. Stugotz got that, had that right at his fingertips.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought I was just going game for game, man. Well, that's okay.
That's okay.
I'm going with the Patriots.
Well, wait a minute, Rick. What did you think I was saying when I was giving you the pluses and the minuses there?
Well, you were giving me Vegas, but I thought we were just going team for team. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm happy with it.
It's better that way. No, that's better. I'm good with that too. All right, let's say goodbye to us the Ric Flair way, if you don't mind, please.
Dan Le Batard, my man, the legend, the one and only. Forget about it. And by the way, Dan, I'm going to make a video. Send it the first take. It's you and me against Stephen A. and Max Kellerman all day long. You and I, I'll fly myself in. I know more about football than Max Kellerman knows about anything. Mm-hmm. This is the guy that said Belichick would trade. Think about that. Belichick would trade Tom Brady for Aaron Rodgers all day long. Okay, thank you, Max. I'm dying. It's me and Dan Le Batard. And by the way, guys, remember, I'm a kiss-stealing, wheel-and-deal, living-and-riding, jet-flying son of a gun. Going to be in Miami in a Dan Le Batard show. Look as only I can look. And, baby, I'm a Rolex wearing, jet-flying, diamond ring wearing, and I'm having a hard time keeping the alligators down.
Yeah.
Once again, Mike Ryan. Woo!
Whoa! This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Ferguson, the right people, the right products, right around the corner. Visit Ferguson.com today.
Dan Le Batard.
I'm going to a concert. The date is in my bedroom. Somebody has used the bidet, and it doesn't look clean. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, well, how do I clean this?
Stugotz.
So I'm staring at this. I got 4 faucets, and this doesn't look clean to me, and I've got a date outside, and I'm like, that's kind of gross that she would come in here, and there would be a dirty bidet. She's going to accuse me. I don't know how to use the bidet. I turn one of the fountains right in my face, gets my shirt all wet.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, Dan, lately your tweets have made me feel bad for being white. I've blocked your Twitter account. A lot of people fighting over everything we've done. We've had so much fun today. Ric Flair and Dr. Alan Lichtman calling Nate Silver a clerk. We've had so much. Stugotz getting distracted by peanut butter.
Jif bars, man.
But you guys are still fighting. And basically, this is the conversation. And many of you have asked us for the article that Stan Van Gundy sent me that I read on the air. You can check that out on our Twitter account at Le Batard Show. Don't do it if you don't want to feel white shame or white guilt. I suggest you not do it.
Enjoy the mentions after sending that one out. I mean, if you care at all.
Yeah, well, but the way this conversation tends to go is, don't call me a racist. You're the racist. That's what happened there. I read that article. It's how one black person feels about being black in America. And so the reaction to being called a racist is to say, no, you're the racist, by thinking that I'm the racist. And it doesn't mean that if you voted for Trump, you're a racist. There are a million factors that decided this election. I just wish that you'd listen when black people tell you that one of them might have been race. That's it. But we're too busy. This happens all the time, right, Stugotz? Like, I remember this happened with Barry Bonds and Lance Armstrong. At the same time, they had the same sort of stuff around them. Lance Armstrong was an American hero who was disliked privately by a lot of people and was kind of a jerk. And they came up at the same time, and one of them is hosting the ESPYs. And I got in trouble one time on PTI for saying, why is he hosting the ESPYs? He's got the same amount of crud around him that Barry Bonds has around him. And so what are the differences in the way that Lance Armstrong and Barry Bonds were viewed as they came up? There are many differences, and one of them is race. But when you say one of them is race, what ends up happening is everyone starts pointing to all the other reasons.
Well, because no one wants to be called a racist for obvious reasons.
Okay, but that isn't calling anybody a racist.
But that's what it feels like to a lot of people.
Okay, but stop feeling that way. Stop being so defensive. Every time someone says, hey, is race a factor here? Stop putting your fists up and listen. A lot of black people in America feel like that's what happened with Trump. You can either listen or you can fight him, or you can ignore him. But I
don't know why you...
Noises!
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you are.
$5.
I don't know why you wouldn't listen. I mean, I don't get it. It's really frustrating. And how white people can't fathom that the black person's experience in this country is different than their experience. And they just refuse to listen to it. And it bothers me. It really does. It bothers me. Like, how can you dispute what that person is saying? How can you?
My tone is terrible, man. What a bad subject to have that kind of tone around, too. But yeah, I get agitated too, and then I want to fight everybody too. So I'm no better than anybody else on this. Let's go ahead and update the polls here from today at Le Batard Show. By the way, James Harden says he's the best player in the league and the best point guard in the league.
He's not. I mean, it's Steph Curry. He's having it. Listen, he's had a great 6-game run here. He's 30 points, 14 assists, something like that. But James Harden is not the best point guard in the league. Not the best anything in the league.
He's got the best beard in the league. There's no dispute.
I'm not even certain he has the best beard in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Not even certain. I got to think about it for a second. But best point guard in the league. I mean, James Harden, first off, he's a shooting guard. Secondly, he objected to wanting to play, point guard, said he could never average 15 assists per game. And now, he's basing this on 6 games, that he's the best point guard in the NBA. Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry.
I mean, he's going to have better stats by the end of the season by virtue of D'Antoni. Anytime you get a point guard in D'Antoni's system, he becomes Steve Nash or some version. Steve Nash won 2 MVPs because playing in that system. And when D'Antoni said that James Harden would average 15 assists a game, James Harden's response was, coach is tripping. And now every time you look up, he's got 15 assists in a game.
Pekovic, better beard?
Ooh, Pekovic. Yeah, Pekovic has a better beard.
3 color.
Yeah.
30, 13, and 8. There aren't going to be a lot of players, and it is early, but there aren't going to be a better stat lines than that at the end of the season. Maybe Westbrook will have something close to that, but he'll be more inefficient than James Harden.
There's another side of the court where you have to play defense.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. Curry does. Westbrook does.
Curry does?
I mean, come on. You've been telling me for 2 years what a good defender Curry is.
No, I've been telling you for 2 years what a good defense Golden State is. Curry is a thoroughly mediocre defender. But let's go ahead and update the polls. At Batard Show, what do you got?
I dropped some truth bombs. Jerk or no jerk? 71% of the audience said jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Is Guillermo lying when he says he's probably going to watch something else, meaning something other than tonight's Heat game, Dwayne Wade coming home to Miami? 71% of the audience said yes, he's lying. Who is more likable, Stugotz or Dan? A little disappointed here. 60% of the audience said Stugotz. Are lingering guests the worst? 82% of the audience said yes. What, were you checking to see if were you fact checking me on who's more likable?
No. I was looking at our lingering guests.
Oh, okay.
I was seeing how self-conscious our lingering guests were.
I mean,
not you guys. You guys are okay.
Yeah. Well, the other ones, man. I mean, go home already. Did you know a bayonet could be used with a gun? 76% of the audience said yes. Those were our poll questions that I did.
Wait a minute. That's the wrong poll question. The last one should be, did you know that the bayonet was the appendage on the gun?
He read it wrong. It's, did you know a bayonet could be used without a gun?
Stugotz, man, you're reading today. Like, what happened today? Explain to me is it all these lingering people around here that, I mean, not that your reading is great, but like, what happened to you today?
I don't know. Just a bad day, man. I'm entitled to have one, right? Unfortunately, it's not just
When's
one.
the good one?
Well, I feel like I had a good one yesterday. But you're right. I mean, I haven't had a good day. I haven't read well today. I was rattled. I don't like the live studio audience here. I mean, there's 90 people in the other room, and they're just staring at us the entire time. And
I do feel
we haven't really talked about anything that I'm not interested in today.
What could we have talked about that you were interested in?
Anything.
Like what?
I mean, you know, James Harden, some GIF bars, big football game tonight, Brown's pursuit of perfection. I mean, there's a lot. There's a big college football game tonight, Carolina Duke. All right, that's a big rivalry, man. Right, Tobacco Road.
Go ahead. Give us 1 minute here of the floor is yours. I'll just sit it out.
Oh, the floor is mine? This is fantastic. So Dwayne Wade's coming back to Miami tonight, and Dan was saying the other day, which I cannot believe he said it, and I still can't believe he said it, that he is rooting for Dwayne Wade to hit a game-winning shot to beat the Miami Heat, and if Dwayne Wade does that tonight, Dan's going to clap. Now, Dan never gets emotional during any sporting event, except the one time in the 2010 Eastern Conference Finals where we were at a watch party, and Udonis Haslem hit a baseline jumper, and Le Batard...
It was a dunk.
Oh, it was a dunk.
Thunderous dunk.
And he'll never admit this, but he absolutely put his hand in the air. He did a fist pump. He did a fist pump, and we all saw him, and we called him out on it, and he'll never admit it. But the fact that you would root against the Heat and for Dwayne Wade, and all Dwayne Wade did was leave Miami and bail on the city that you love, and you're going to root for the guy who's now playing for Chicago? I mean, please. Give me a break, Le Batard. Bailed on your city.
We will talk to you mañana. This was the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Hey, baseball fans, I'm Buster Olney, and on the latest Baseball Tonight podcast, we put a ribbon on the Chicago Cubs championship, and Jason Stark and Jerry Krasnick look ahead to what's going to be a very active offseason.
On the latest episode of the Bill Barnwell Show, I talked to Daniel Adler about Week 9 of the NFL season. You can check out the show on iTunes or by going to the ESPN app on your phone.
The North Carolina Tar Heels head to Durham to face their fiercest rivals, the Duke Blue Devils. Touchdown! Coverage begins Thursday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Presented by Dr. Pepper.